Okay, so today we are going to work on how to set up your graphs using your data from your lab that you did with the M&Ms and the Lifesavers. So if you take a look at the back of your lab sheet, there's a section that says data and graphs. Okay, we are going to create these four graphs together, except graphs 1 and 2 are pretty much the same thing, except that graph 1 is for the prey species and graph 2 is for the predator species. Okay, so basically you'll just follow my instructions for graph 1 and repeat for graph 2. Okay, then I'll show you how to use your data for both the predator and prey for graph 3 and then the number of deaths for each predator and prey for graph 4. Okay, the first thing we need to talk about is the layout of a graph. Okay, so normally graphs have a title, okay, represented at the top. They also have an X and a Y axis. Okay, your X axis is going to be horizontal, so that would be the year in this case. And then your Y axis would be vertical, and that would be your population. Okay, the point of graphs is to show some type of data. So this is showing your world population from 1950 to a projection of 2050. Okay. So the first thing that you have to have is a digital copy of your data. So if one person in your group collected this, they're going to have to share it with everybody. If nobody in your group made this yet, you can find the link on the hub. It is on the home page underneath number 4 from Monday and Tuesday. Okay, so you'll have to find that. You'll have to make a copy, and then you'll input all of your data. You will notice that my numbers are kind of crazy. I did not count 50,000 M&Ms, but I did make some of these numbers up in order to get an accurate graph. Okay, so your graphs might not look like mine, and that's okay. You might not even have 8 trials or rounds, and that's also okay. You're just going to use whatever data you have and create your own graph. Okay, so the first graph that we are going to do is the line graph, which actually is going to be a scatter graph, and you'll see that in a minute, showing your population of the prey species for all trials. So what you're going to do first is you are going to select your total prey. And to do that, you're going to click on your box that says total prey. Next, you are going to press the shift key on your keyboard and then press the arrows downward on your keyboard in order to select all of the data. Okay, that is all you need to do first. Then you are either going to press this button here that says Insert Chart, or if you don't see it here, you can press Insert Chart here as well. Okay, it's going to pop up with normally a column chart you'll see over here for your graph. The first thing that we are going to do before we do anything is to change this. So you're going to click on this and scroll down to a scatter. Okay, so a scatter chart. You're going to click that and you'll end up with some points on a graph. The next thing that we're going to do is we highlighted our total prey data over here, but we need something down here on the x-axis. Okay, so our total prey is represented on the y, but there's nothing down here. So for the x-axis, we are going to add this data. You're going to click this little button over here that looks like a grid. And it's asking what data you want to add. On the bottom, we measured this by round. Okay, so that's going to be over here. So you are going to select A1, okay, because that's where it's going to start, right here, 2, or colon, A9. Okay, we want to go all the way down here because that's where my data ends. Then you're going to press OK. And then I get my x-axis on the bottom. So the big thing that is missing here is going to be our titles. So in order to start entering that data, we are going to press Customize over here. And you will go down to Chart and Axis Titles. I first want you to enter some type of title, and I'm going to call mine Total Prey Over Time. You can call it whatever you would like, but an appropriate title would be nice, and it'll show up here on the top. For each of the graphs that you do need to include your name and the date. So you're going to click down here where it says type and click chart subtitle, and you will write your name and the date. Perfect. Then you will again click down to the horizontal axis, which is going to be your X. And our X, if you remember, is our round or trials, and you can call it whichever one you want. And then finally, our vertical axis, that's going to be this axis right here, and that's going to be our total prey. All right. The next thing that we need to do is right underneath, you're going to click Series, and we want to apply it to total prey, so you don't even need to select anything there. We are going to add a trend line in order to see our data, like the movement of our data. So you'll click the trend line box, and instead of a linear trend, we are going to select an exponential trend so that it looks like that. And don't worry if your lines do not connect. I just want to see that exponential trend line, and that's really all I'm asking. Okay. So we're done with our first graph, and if you follow these exact same instructions for the total predators, you will end up with another of this graph, which you will also turn in. I will say, however, for your total predators, instead of adding an exponential line, I would like you to add a moving average line for your predators, okay, not your prey. Your prey will be exponential, all right? So in order to save this, I'm going to select or click on my graph. Then there's going to be three little dots up here. I'm going to click on those, click Save Image. It's going to download my image to my computer. I will open my image. I'm going to find those same three little dots. I'm going to save as, and I'm going to save it in a place where I can easily find it, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to save it as total prey over time. This is an example for you guys, so I'm going to save that to my desktop so I can find it easily. Okay, because what I want to do is I'm going to add this to my Google Drive. Okay, so you can see that this is where my data is. I'm going to right click. I'm going to upload a file, and I'm going to find that image on my desktop. Okay, it should probably be at the bottom because I just added it. I'm going to select it and click open, and it uploads right to my Google Drive. Okay, so that when I want to create my lab report, I can just find it right here in my drive. All right. So after you select and just click backspace, that will go away, and you can do your total predator graph.